talk to us about investment opportunities for women specifically in Kenya.
Thank you very much. Happy International Women's Day. In Kenya, let me start by saying we have a vision that is called Vision 2030, and that we expect to see a per capita income of $3,600 to about $6,000 per person in 2030. That's in the next 20 years. What does that mean? It means that we expect the economy to grow at 10%, and we want to focus on 3 pillars. We have the economic pillar, the social pillar, and the political pillar. But looking at the economic pillar, we have 6 priority sectors: tourism, agriculture, manufacturing, ICT, BPO, wholesale, retail sector, and financial services sector. So we have very varied investment opportunities, but those are the ones which we researched and thought they would be the topmost. But we also have other sectors. Let's talk about the social pillar. The social pillar has got projects in education, the health sector, and the environmental sector. And also, all this is underpinned by what we are calling the enablers. The enablers are infrastructural in nature. We're looking at roads, railways, ports, which include seaports, airports, and what have you, and those that actually support. But another interesting sector is mining, and I'd like to talk a little bit about that later.
Okay, let's talk about what you're hoping for Kenya this year. You're eyeing about 160 billion Kenyan shillings in investment. You've identified various areas where money should be channeled. How much of that 160 billion should be directed and will be directed to women's initiatives?
Okay, that's about $2 million. We do not actually discriminate or segregate to say that a certain amount will come from women or men, but that we do actually aggressively target all investors. But we have several programs in Kenya that enables women to thrive in entrepreneurship. At Kenya Investment Authority, we have business development services, which looks at the micro, small, and medium enterprises. And in these enterprises, a lot of women are engaged in. So we are encouraging them to register with us, to learn from us, and we link them to the different other stakeholders that can train them, that can enable them to be suppliers and what have you, so that they also are gaining from economic development.
Now, we know that Kenya is largely an agrarian economy and agricultural exporter. Women work within this sector. They're the dominant players within the sector in one way or another. How much work is being done in terms of giving them credit, as you're talking about microfinancing, and just supporting a lot of agricultural activities, because in that way you're boosting a lot of female contribution in the economy? Yes,
rightfully, as you've said, Kenya is an agrarian society still, and about 24% of our GDP composes agriculture. And of that 24%, we have 75% or so of our labor in agriculture. But of the 75%, 90% are women. So we cannot ignore that. And in Vision 2030, we have the issue on agriculture, where we want to make our farmers business people. So we want to focus on value addition. So let's look at women. We just don't want them to grow things like tomatoes and just market them raw. We want them to think about value addition, producing tomato paste, producing tomato sauce, and all the other byproducts that goes with such a product. The government has develop policies. We have the Women Enterprise Development Fund, which is about 2 billion shillings worth of funding that goes into the women. and this is managed by Equity Bank. We also have Kenya Women's Finance Trust, which is a women's bank now. We have KREP, which is also another bank that also looks at SMEs. So the environment has actually been ripe for women to engage in economic empowerment, and particularly in agricultural value addition.
Earlier on, you were talking about industry and specifically mining. What is it that you'd like to say?
What I have to say about mining is that it's quite an important sector which is yet to be developed, because 95% of our miners are what we call SSM, small-scale miners. I say this because I have a passion for it, because we have a group in a place called Taita Taveta in Kenya, where we have a group, a cooperative, composed of 350 women who are doing small-scale mining, and they are into gemstones. But we have been able, in the past 5 to 6 years, been able to see them moving from just digging for the gemstones to the point now where we have a constituent college of the Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology, where we had a training about a month ago for these women to actually learn on how to cut gemstones, how to identify them, and how to value add them.
So beneficiation is important. Let's talk about other variables, and this is the social dynamic. Other ways of getting women active in the economy, for instance, is to encourage them to be investors, for instance, in the Nairobi Stock Exchange, to get involved in the capital markets. There's now a process of demutualization where the public can own part of the stock exchange. How much investor education is currently underway?
Okay, there's a lot of education. In the Nairobi Stock Exchange, there's a demutualization steering committee which has been formed, and on 23rd of February last year, the guidelines were published. So the government encourages the public to participate in this demutualization, and we think that it's a huge, huge opportunity for women. And just to add also, our constitution has really emphasized on women being participants in the economy.
And a final question to you, Susan. One of the biggest challenges we're seeing is, you know, politicians will talk about the need for gender quotas, and you'll see some changes in parliament. Countries like South Africa and Rwanda have done really well in that respect. But whilst we see advances in the political space, the corporate space doesn't seem to be changing as much. The statistics suggest that less than 5% of JSE-listed companies have female CEOs. That's in South Africa, with one of the most robust and dynamic constitutions. What's the situation in Kenya, just by way of listed companies having representation, and lots of fledgling companies have female ownership?
Okay. Right now, we have the new constitution, and that has given us quite a bit of positivity in the country. We're seeing a lot of interest, and also when you look at compositions of the boards, women have really been lagging behind, but many companies are now ensuring that they have representation in ownership of companies. So you're seeing a shift. I think we're seeing more women getting interested in the corporate sector in the country, and we think that we are on for improvement in this area.